Hello, welcome to the panel, Child-Free Abroad, Travel or Transplant. I'm Cody Hetzel. I'll be one of your moderators.
And I'm LeNora Faye, the other moderator.
So thank you to our presenting sponsor, Childfree Media, and our champion level sponsor, Childfree Wealth. Our other sponsors are 365 Diversity, Best Child for Life Possible, found on Facebook, Buy Childfree, Buy Childfree, Childfree Family, Childfree Journals, StopHavingKids.org, StreamYard, and the books The Age of the Child by Kristen Tsetsi and Wild Egg by Jennifer Flint.
And our disclaimer, opinions expressed within the content are solely the speakers and do not reflect the opinions and beliefs of the event or its affiliates. So let's bring on our speakers, please. Hi, Katura.
Hello.
Hi, Libby.
Hi.
Hi, Juliana.
Hello.
Hey, Brittany.
All right. And Lily. All right.
Hi,
all right.
everyone. Hi.
I think that's everybody. So we'll start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and your travel experiences. Katura.
So as you said, Cody and LeNora, thank you again for having me on for the second day of the convention. I'm Katura Kendrick. I am originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, but have lived in New York City for about 20 years, minus the 5 years when I lived abroad. I lived in Rwanda in East Africa for 2 years, and I lived in Shanghai, China for 3 years. And in those 5 years total, I traveled all around both continents, Asia and Africa, as much as possible. So I've been to 20 plus countries at this point. And since repatriating to the US about 3 years ago, I have committed to intentionally exploring South and Central America. So my home base is New York City. I work as a writer, but I do long stays in Mexico, Panama, and when I can fit into my schedule, I return to Africa to see friends. So yeah.
Awesome. Brittany, you're up next.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. My name is Brittany Ryan, and I'm known as the Jet Set Blonde. I am a travel blogger and content creator by night, and full-time, I'm a marketing director. And my journey first started in college. I went on my first study abroad program and just fell in love with travel. And since then, I've traveled a lot through my job for event planning and trade shows and things like that. So that's been North America, Europe, and Asia primarily. I did a master's over in Scotland, and so I've lived abroad for a year in Scotland, and then came back to my hometown, which is in Dallas, Texas. So I've been to 23 countries and counting. And so far, my two favorite are Italy and Switzerland. So thank you guys for having me today.
Oh, we're happy to have you here. Juliana, how about you?
Hello, I'm Juliana. I am originally from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I'm living in Westchester, which is just a short drive away from Philly. I've been traveling solo for a while, and I started, like, my roots in traveling are in photojournalism and journalism. I've been published a couple of times for my photography. And after that, I really decided to take the leap, and me and my business partner, we are co-founders of Trip of Her Own, which is an all-women's travel retreat company. And so we take groups of women to see the world on small retreats around week long. But we also have some local ones too, where we're doing like a national park series in the United States as well. So that's really where my passion lies.
Okay. And Julie, you're coming across a little muffled, so maybe speak up just a tad next time.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Libby.
Hi, everybody. I'm Libby. I was from Canada. I guess I am from Canada. That didn't change. But I've been living in the U.S. for many, many years. And because I'm from Canada, I guess my parents hated the cold. So every break that we ever had, we always vacationed. Mainly did like Mexico a lot, did a couple cruises in the Caribbean. And that just took over as I was an adult. All the money I earned, even in college, I was going away on vacations. And now as an adult, that's something that I definitely do. that kind of led me to getting into the travel business. I'm a travel agent, and my company's the Gypsy Traveler. I focus a lot on adult-only travel, just because, of course, we don't have kids, and so that's my bread and butter. When somebody wants a family trip and they have family questions, I'm like, I don't know much about families and kids and all of that, but I can do adult-only. So yeah, we've traveled lots in the Caribbean, been to Alaska, Mediterranean. We just went to French Polynesia, which was amazing. And then we live in Hawaii, which is awesome too. So we definitely have a bucket list of places trying to go. And I'm hoping to end up one day in the Dominican Republic as my home base.
All right. We hope you get there. Lily, how about you?
Yes, hi, I'm Liliana Vercellotti. I was born and raised in Piemonte, Italy, which is in the north part, in a very small farming community. So when I was in my early 20s, I wanted to go abroad, and I started as a nanny. And then I studied for my bachelor and my master in the US, in Utah. And then I continued to move. After 10 years in the US, I moved to Canada. I also worked in Thailand because I was working in international development. Been to Tanzania, Thailand, some part of East Africa, Europe, and so on. I don't know how many countries I visited, because every time I was usually going to volunteer or to work or to study. And I'm still looking for the ideal place. I love Canada. I've been here for 10 years, first in Vancouver, and now I'm on the east, well, I'm in Quebec, which is not really East Coast, but yeah, and yeah, I'm still looking for the right place. Ideally would be 6 months in Canada and 6 months in a warm location working online. What I do is I coach women that are also wanting to relocate. Maybe they are transitioning through life changes, divorce or life changes. And I coach women that don't have kids by circumstances like myself or by choice. Yeah, and my partner is also working online remotely, so we're probably going to do some traveling together in the next year or so.
All right, thanks for
I'm
sharing.
I'm in Alberta, Canada, so Quebec is east. You know,
it is east. Yeah, I'm on the East Coast. I'm New York times, so I'm always like, okay, that's fine.
And the 6 months somewhere else. Yeah, that sounds about accurate. All right. So what are some of the benefits to traveling and or moving away from your hometown or country? So we'll start with Couture. Go ahead.
I think a big benefit of traveling in general is you get outside of your comfort zone, whether you are vacationing or whether you are doing some sort of humanitarian work or whether you are actually working on something. I think being able to get outside of your comfort zone and to see that the world still remains on its axis, nothing horrific or big happens, you just experience a different way of living is important. I think when I lived abroad, what was beneficial to me, especially since I've been back and have had some years to reflect on those years that I lived in Africa and in Asia, a huge benefit is having confirmation that your home country is terribly flawed in very specific ways, and also your adopted country is terribly flawed. So you get to see the commonality of humanity, of people, of the fact that government often contributes to the horrible flawedness, and the people within those countries are just people. They're working, the ones who have kids, taking care of their kids, the ones, very few you meet who don't have kids, going about their lives, enjoying their lives, and just trying to make enough to relax, to enjoy their lives, and to meet people. So it's being able to see the difference, but also the sameness in how we all live.
So what you're saying is there is no perfect place in the world.
Shockingly, I haven't been all over yet, LeNora. Shockingly, I'm going to go with no.
Well, I'll ask the rest of you guys, and maybe you can say
comment
yes or no.
section. Join us on
comment
that
section. Yes,
yeah.
Brittany, go ahead.
So going off of that, I completely agree. It definitely puts you out of your comfort zone, and that is when you grow. If you never get out of your comfort zone, you can't grow. But adding on to that, I think for me, the biggest realization was the perspective that I gained. I had the opportunity, when I lived abroad, I was in Scotland and I was there on a student visa, getting my master's. And my program was international business. So my program was filled with people from all over the world. They weren't just Scots. They were from Europe, from Asia, North America. And I got to be exposed to so many different cultures and backgrounds and perspectives, and I was just so blown away by the intelligence of some of these people. I mean, the drive that they had, the ability to speak multiple languages, that's always been so impressive to me. And it just opens up so many new perspectives, and it makes your world expand, right? So you're not feeling like you get to hear about different people's backgrounds and understand, and it helps you understand your own upbringing better. So I think it's the best teacher. Travel is the best teacher you can possibly have.
I was just booking plane tickets. Juliana, go ahead.
I definitely agree. I think travel is the best teacher that you can ever have. But I think the most important thing that I've learned through a lot of my solo travels is that traveling helps you build confidence. Sitting in your house, in your hometown, the thought of flying across another continent to a place that you don't know anybody at, you're unfamiliar with the language and you're unfamiliar with the money, and proving to yourself that you can do that, and when your boots on the ground, realizing that, oh wow, this isn't actually that hard, and I'm capable of a lot of things. When you get back, you realize that the things that you struggle with on an everyday basis, aren't so bad and aren't so, terrible, and you realize that, you are capable of so much more than just your everyday mundane life. And I think that is so important, especially for younger people.
That's such a great point. Libby, go ahead.
Well, nobody's mentioned the food aspect of travel. And I know, just even from my last vacation in French Polynesia, oh my God, I gained 10 pounds eating all the French fabulous food. And so I think that just getting, again, out of your comfort zone, maybe trying different foods, and also just being able to try the different cuisine. I know, living in Canada, the US, our Italian food is nothing like when you're actually sitting in Rome and eating an Italian meal. And so, some of that thing, just being able to experience that. And I'm not even a huge foodie, but I definitely appreciate that, as well as the culture, just learning about the different aspects of the culture. When we were in French Polynesia, it was amazing to learn, just especially being in Hawaii, their cultures are very similar. So learning about that, and, how they were also, taken over by the explorers kind of thing, and even being in Rome again, or when we were in Greece, learning about the culture. So just kind of getting out, and I've learned so many different things that I wouldn't have if I would have stayed in my hometown, because I've been able to travel and explore all these different areas for myself.
Great, thank you. Lily, go ahead.
Well, for me, when I left Italy, I left because I grew up in a farming community, and it was all the world that I knew was there. And I knew there was something different and beyond those, those boundaries. And a lot of time people ask me, especially in the US, why in the world did you move abroad? You're from Italy. And my answer is always, because not everything you think of a country as a tourist is going to represent that country when you live there. And that, I think, it's valid across the board. If you go to Panama, if you go to Germany, if you go anywhere, you go as a tourist, you see the positive aspect. But if you live there as an expat, you see the pros and cons. Or if you live there because you grew up there, you see the pros and cons. So for me, I learned, like somebody else was saying, Brittany, there's pros and cons in every country. You just have to see where you feel at home. And the other thing that I learned to appreciate my family and the very place where I grew up, which was everybody knew each other, everybody knew your last name, and everybody talked about you and your grandpa and your great grandpa. And I was like, I need to get out of here. But at the same time, you learn what are your pillars, what kind of values you come from. And it took me a long time to get to that appreciation. And I don't know Italy as much as some of my American friends or Canadian friends, that they've been to southern Italy, they've been to Pompeii, they've been everywhere. I'm like, oh no, I only been to 3 places and you've been to 10. So it's kind of rediscovering my country from perspective of, an expat of 20 years abroad.
I mean, that is interesting because I know there are people that have been in far more places in Canada than I've been. So it's interesting how we often don't focus on our own country. I mean, not that we are required to, but when we think about it, how well do we know the country we live in, that where we're from, right?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
Cody? If for the U.S., if you took the names off the states and asked someone to put a map together and rename, we could maybe do half, like maybe. So anyway, how has traveling or moving opened up new possibilities for you, and maybe specifically as a child-free person? And we'll start with Couture, please.
I think what the possibility in the sense of not a tangible thing, I think it freed me in ways that I would not have known had I not lived abroad, had I not decided to travel. Because one thing that I tell people all the time is, if you're not prepared to go solo, be prepared to never go. Because if you wait on people, whether it is a romantic partner, whether it's friends, you really will see you won't have any necessarily a different story than people who have to find childcare for their kids or whatever. So for me, it gave me a chance to see that I'm a teacher by trade. I taught until about 2 or 3 years ago. Being able to take a very transferable skill like teaching, to be employed in the countries where I lived, and also being able to then explore those countries with built-in school holidays, open up the world to me in a way that I could have had I stayed in the U.S. But as LeNora said, we don't think exploring our own country is as sexy, I guess, as going to Bali for 3 Christmases in a row like I did. So I think the possibility of when you don't have the weight of, or the responsibility of thinking about a child and how living abroad or living in a country or traveling to a country is going to impact that child, the world truly is your oyster, and you can make decisions about where you go, what you do, what food you eat, how late you will be out, what type of jobs you will take. You can make those decisions based on exclusively what you see as your need, and you realize that the world is smaller than you thought, and you have access to it much more than you thought. That's what's been for me.
Yeah. Brittany, how about you?
I don't want to sound like a broken record, but I would completely agree with that. I think for me, it's been the ability to have that freedom of choice. I look at my friends that have kids. I look at my family members that have kids, and they really have to put in a whole extra layer of planning, of budgeting, in order to realize their travel dreams and goals. And I have the autonomy and the ability to be able to book a flight and leave that the same day if I really wanted to. And that is something, it's not so much that I've had doors open because of it, but I am aware that if I had children, there would be a lot more closed doors when it comes to traveling and taking on travel opportunities. And for me, travel is my first love, and it is what fulfills me, just as a parent would say that their children fulfill them in life. But for me, it's travel. So I feel grateful that I don't have extra barriers of that level of responsibility holding me back from fulfilling those travel dreams and goals.
Thank you. Juliana.
Yeah, I think that it has really given me the perspective and the opportunity to realize that I can do so much with my life, starting with being able to start my own business, especially a business that is centered around traveling and showing other women that they can travel. I wanted a goal from my business to be showing women that the only option is not to just grow up, start a family, work your job every single day. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but just to show people that there are other options out there. and that has just changed everything for me, because now I realize that, okay, I can do this and I can do a million other things. And it's just really opened up my eyes. And again, not just my own eyes, but being able to share that with other people has been transformative.
Libby.
I mean, it's very similar to what some of the others were saying, is just being able to get on a plane and go whenever you want. I know I used to work in education, and so I used to only be able to book vacations when all the kids were out of school. And I don't know about the rest of you, but oh, there's my cat in the background. But when he's my child now. When school is out of session, that is the most expensive time to travel. And so it really was terrible having to pay that extra price just to travel when all the other families were traveling. So now, not working in education and just having myself and my husband to, work around work schedules, it's been great to be able to go any of the times when the kids are back in school, because it's not as expensive. And I also couldn't imagine trying to travel with kids too. I know one time we were on the beach in the Caribbean with my brother and my niece, and she started crying, and they load her up and they get on the bus and they leave, and I'm going, okay, I'm gonna stay here for another 4 hours on the beach. I being able to, I don't know if it's selfish or maybe it's just being able to live my own life, but not having to just do what I want when I want to do it, and stay on the beach all day if I want to.
You give me a thought here. It's like for child-free people, we kind of avoid the parent tax, because we can travel kind of whenever we like to if we have that ability, and you avoid those like peak travel times when families go. It's a little bit cheaper. Lily, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, well, first of all, I learned English, which at the time when I left Italy was about 20, 25 years ago. It was still a novelty for people, especially in my small community, to go abroad and all the way outside of Europe. Now, my cousin, my friends' kids, they go and study abroad, they learn English, Russian, whatever, they speak 3 or 4 languages. So I'm not like the weird one anymore. That was one thing. The other advantage is just like somebody else said, learning different perspective, culture. I really appreciate my 10 years in the US. I come from a perspective of the glass half empty. I don't know, even customer service wise, sometimes in Italy, at least in my experience, it's different than in the US. And so I really learned the positive mindset, the idealistic mindset that I assimilated when I was doing my education, my studies in the US. And again, that's personal experience. Maybe somebody else will have a different experience, but for me, it was very enriching mentally with my mindset. And I continue to develop that as much as I could. I am child-free by circumstances. I don't call myself childless, because I'm fine with my situation for the most part for now. I do believe that it's an interesting factor that I think travel, or the fact that I lived abroad as an expat and I worked and so on and so on, I don't think that was a contributing factor for me becoming childless or child-free, because I discovered I had endometriosis in my early 30s after years of complaining about digestive issues and pain. But sometimes I wonder, if I stayed in Italy and I just grew up and married the next door farmer, would I have kids? I don't know. They maybe found out I had endometriosis before? I don't know. But the biggest appreciation is the versatility in thinking. Like, I think that one of the things I say to the women that are child-free, our life is like, we have different script. We all can build our life journey as we want, and even if there's challenges, we can still redefine ourselves. And I think that, I've been in places that are very patriarchal, and that's one other thing I want to say, and then I close, is I feel very fortunate as a woman, even as an Italian, with all respect, to have been able to make choices and go and come and go as I please, even without having a lot of money. I'm not like a fire child-free person, not at all. And maybe now I have to think about how am I going to do my retirement. But as a woman, I had the freedom to choose. When I was in Tanzania, I would go into a taxi. The first thing they asked me is, "Oh, where's your husband?" And I would lie. I would say, oh, my husband is working and my 2 kids are home. So, just like no confrontation, whatever. But like honestly, culture plays a factor, and I feel very fortunate to have the freedom as a woman.
So we do have to wrap up. Sorry, Cody, I'll take this one. We lost Juliana, but anyway, so if in closing, if there's anything that you want to plug, how people can reach out to you, please feel free to do so. Couture, we'll start with you. How can people connect with you?
The easiest and most central way is my website, KaturaKendrick.com. There you can find my book you can purchase. You can read some of my other writings that I've had published in numerous outlets, and also links to my social media, my Insta, my Twitter, Facebook, etc. And I'm Katura Kendrick pretty much on all platforms.
Thank you. Lily, go ahead. How can people reach you?
Yeah, my website is the best way, lilyvglobal.com. I have a Facebook group for women that don't have kids, either by choice or by circumstances. I have an Instagram account, which is new. So if you'd like to follow me, that would be great. And that's about it.
Thank you. Brittany, go ahead. How can people reach you?
The best way to reach me is on Instagram, TikTok, or Facebook at @thejetsetblonde. And then you can connect to my website at jetsettingblonde.com, where you can find weekly travel itineraries specifically for child-free travel.
Excellent. Thank you. Libby, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm the Gypsy Traveler on Facebook and Instagram. That's also my website too, just the gypsytraveler.com. And if you are looking to travel as well, I have a Facebook group called Adult Only All-Inclusive Vacations. And so that's where I kind of post lots of different resorts that you can stay at that are fully adult only, as well as cruise lines too.
Excellent. Hashtag child-free travel. Thank you, everyone, for this panel. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for your contributions. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Take care. Ciao.